guys, welcome to Paradigms in Brain Function. This is a course which looks at the brain via its function and basically looks at what is the best intelligence model that is available to humanity right now, which happens to be a biological entity we call the brain. The course is being taught by Dr. Nasir Azwan, who's a neurosurgeon, Dr. Suleiman Shahid. Most of you probably know him. He is a professor of computer science department here. And myself, I'm an internal medicine physician. And our lovely TA is Zainab. So I'll let Dr. Nasir introduce himself.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Can you all hear me at the back? Okay. My name is Nasir Azwan. I'm a neurosurgeon and a neuroscientist. I'm a professor at Sharif Medical City, and I have started a new setup at SpinaCure, which is a non-surgical spine treatment center. The thing that we are trying to teach here in this course is about the principles of brain function. This is not basic neuroscience. This is not biological neuroscience. For this, you do not need a background in biology or computer science for that matter. For this, you need just an interest in trying to understand how the brain works. So we'll be talking about the principles and the paradigms. The paradigms that the brain works in are actually evolving. And we are discovering new things, and we are trying to understand how these things integrate to give us a version of reality that we perceive. And that's what is going to be instrumental in the future when we try to emulate these things into a computer. So welcome to the course. And hopefully this will be as much fun for you guys as it was for us making it. And hopefully you'll have a good time.
Thank you very
I'll leave
much.
it to Dr. Suleiman.
Thank you very much. Most of you know me. I'm a faculty member in computer science department, and I'll start with a very big and basic confession. I hated biology. I just did not like it. And I was a person who said, Kip, do whatever you want to do, but don't send me to a med school. I just don't want to do it. And for a very long time, I thought biology was not really useful. Why people do it, why people study, I had just no clue. And I think the last few years, especially after coming back to Pakistan and start working at LUMS, when I started working at the intersection of design, technology, and healthcare, and I tried to understand that how can you sort of, understand people in a sort of systematic way in the healthcare settings, I got fascinated with the way the brain works. And we know how little about it is just mind-blowing. So I think my introduction and my love for this course stems from my dislike for a particular discipline, and then now my very much liking for the same discipline, but in a very different way. So I'm not very interested at the core of biology, but I'm very interested that how this biological organ has function, which is just fascinating. We know very little about it. So I think if you did not like biology, I think it's perfectly fine. If you did not like computer science, that's also perfectly fine. And if psychology was not a cup of your tea, that's also fine. Because when you combine all three things, something else is in becoming and making up. And I think that's what we're calling this course. We had a lot of fun. We are good friends, but we had a lot of fun in working on this. And I'm specifically fascinated with the passion they have put into this course. So you have to stay with this course to be able to understand in depth ki hai kya. The first 2 weeks might not do justice. The first 2 weeks might not give you the good idea what is the depth of this course. It may look scary to a certain population. It may look fascinating to another population. And then you flip it after 2 weeks, you might have a different understanding कि मेरे लिए बहुत मुश्किल हो गया है, मेरे लिए आसान हो गया है. But I think collectively we feel that the background in biology, psychology, and computer science is not a must. But if you are really interested, that you can apply that knowledge either in psychology, how people decide, or in biology, the basic biology of the brain, or more importantly in my field, design, that or computer science, that how people build models based on the brain. I think this will be a fun course to look at and explore. So that's all from my side. I have not much to add in the coming lectures, but I'll be coming back whenever the computing parts comes into play. But these two excellent souls will take care of the rest. Doctor.
Thank you. So, hold on, let me put this on. Give me a second. So, my name is Basma Ali. I am an internal medicine physician. I went to medical school here in Lahore. Dr. Nasir and I are both KE alums. And then Dr. Nasir did something useful, which is he became a neurosurgeon. I went to the US. I did my residency in internal medicine, worked in academia for a bit, then went to business school at MIT. And then after MIT, started my own small practice, which was in integrative medicine. And then in 2015, started working on how to predict migraine episodes before they happen, which is when I became friends with Dr. Suleiman. And we've worked together on signal processing and AI in medicine since then. And you know, the brain is interesting because pretty much it's the most interesting thing about humans, right? I mean, the gut is interesting, and you know, the heart is interesting, but probably the most interesting thing in the human body is the brain, right? So anybody who has any kind of background in biology or is just curious about how the world works ends up becoming interested in the brain. So, next slide, please. So this is something that I want you to think about. What excites you about the brain, because we will come back and ask you what you are looking to get out of this course. Next slide, please. So, what is this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So go back. Sorry. Forgive me. Can somebody tell me what a paradigm is? Anyone? Come on. Tukka. Ji, please. Bole.
Like a way of thought,
Uncha puttar.
sort of like a way of thought,
Uh-huh.
like uske under sara fall karne like a philosophical paradigm, etc.
Okay, give me an example from your own lived experience, not something you've read. Somebody else? Ji, bolo.
So this is still abstract,
That's okay.
a paradigm is like the framework upon which beliefs are made.
Uh-huh.
You build assumptions on the basis of a paradigm.
Okay, Zabardast, give me an example from your own life.
Religion? So
Religion is something else. We're going to talk about that when we talk about reward and punishment. So that's a different organizing structure. आप कह रहे थे कुछ? Somebody wants to help him? Anybody has any? जी, बोलें. So guys, for the first 4 or 5 times, for the first 4 or 5 weeks, every time I say I call on you, can you please say your name so to help me remember? जी, आपका नाम क्या है? Okay.
I would say paradigm, the word that most closely links to it is like epistemology. Like it could be philosophical, like a Platoism or something. Any school of thought you follow.
Okay. What is epistemology? Can you say that? Can you tell us what that is?
I would, as far as I understand, it's a school of thought or a belief system that you define the way you approach things.
So that is the way we think about knowledge, right? So there are different paradigms in how we think about knowledge. So, you know, बड़े सीधी paradigms examples हैं. So for example, जब मैं छोटी थी, तो the paradigm by which you got news was newspapers, radio, and television. How do you guys get your news? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the other stuff, Daily Show, like that, right? So it's a complete paradigm shift. Our paradigm shift कैसे है? Like what has shifted in this paradigm?
Transmission, the media. The
ट्रांसमिशन तो पहले भी हो रही थी पुत्र, न्यूज़पेपर से आपको पता तो चल रहा था.
medium.
नहीं, मीडियम दोनों मीडियम्स हैं. इसमें I'll give you a hint, पावर शिफ्ट हुई है. जी आप बताइए, आपका नाम क्या है? जी पुत्र पहले आप, जी आप बताओ पुत्र.
Before, when it was newspapers and things, knowledge was kind of being kept by editors and publishers, media houses, whereas now people can kind of generate.
Absolutely. So कुछ लोग कंट्रोल कर सकते थे कि क्या ट्रांसमिट हो रहा है. Now that's much harder, right? And look at the impact it has had on Palestine, look at what the impact it has had in Black Lives Matter, look at the paradigm shift in the Me Too movement. All of these things are possible because reporting is no longer in the hands of a few people. Anybody who has access to the internet and the computer now has the ability to transmit stuff. Okay, so a collection of beliefs and concepts held by a group of people, a set of theories, assumptions, and ideas that contribute to their worldview and builds the framework from which they operate every day. So the reason the diagram is there is, how many of you have done that thought experiment where a two-dimensional person tries to understand what three dimensions are? Okay. So can one of you explain it? The girl in the black coat. Putter uncha.
To the best of my understanding, is that you imagine that you're a person on a piece of like A4 paper.
Right.
To understand how like an object, for example, how the sun would drive from but imagine how you would imagine the third dimension if you existed.
Right. So, agar, for example, if you were a flat piece of paper, right, and I'm a three-dimensional person, when you see me, you're only going to see mere paon ki outline, right? And jahan par bhi aap mujhe intersect kar rahe ho, aap ek line aayegi, right? So I can appear and disappear out of your world. When I was a child, this was explained to me how jinns interact with humans, which is not true at all. But that is how, you know, you can appear and disappear, right? मैं पाँव ऊंचा कर लूँ, अगर मेरे पाँव के लेवल पे देख रहे हैं मैं गायब हो गई, फिर दूसरे कमरे में आ जाऊँ, right? तो then मैं फिर वहाँ पे magically appear हो गई, right? So as long as you believe इस diagram में कि वो जो flat surface है, आपका playing field सिर्फ वो है, right? तो आप उसी के solutions कर सकते हो. जब आपको पता चल जाएगा कि उसकी multiple layers हैं ऊपर नीचे, so then you can use all of them to find solutions, right? कि ये वाला नहीं काम करा, मारो गोली, I'm going to go down to a lower level or a higher level, right? So that is what a paradigm is. Next, so it's a philosophical and theoretical framework of a scientific school or discipline within which theories, laws, and generalizations and experiments performed in support of them are formulated. So I need now 4 examples from you guys of paradigms that from your own lived experience, not from things you've read in books. So 4 volunteers. Ji.
So, Bachad, either let me add this thing. This course is going to be very interesting. Agar aap log khud participate kare. If we have to point out and call on you, it's not going to be fun. Aur ye itna hard hai कि you will not enjoy participating जब तक आप खुद इसके अंदर volunteer.
And there are no stupid answers unless you are trying to be stupid, in which case we will know, right? So, you've already spoken up. Ji, aap ho to Putter.
My name is Elena. I was thinking of online and in-person learning and the shift between them.
Okay. So tell me how that has impacted stuff.
So it's very like before COVID happened and we moved to online learning, most people couldn't even fathom that there was a possibility to learn outside of a physical classroom, right? And now, like, people are teaching online, people are learning online, and like that's making stuff more accessible to people. And virtual university is more acceptable now. The concept of virtual learning is more acceptable.
But sabse bada, the matter is of access, right? So who here has used Khan Academy? So, right, all of us, right? So agar main चूचों की मलिया में रहती हूँ and I don't have a teacher or I have a teacher but वो कभी क्लास में पढ़ाने नहीं आता, तो पहले मेरे पास अलजबरा सीखने का कोई तरीका नहीं था, right? But now, as long as I have a छोटा सा phone and I have stable internet, I can actually teach myself algebra. Okay, good. जी बोले.
If we assume that political affiliations are paradigms and therefore right-wing affiliations.
Okay, so who is affiliating to the right where in the world? So आप कह रहे हो right wing affiliation, बिल्कुल politics में paradigm shift होता है, but आप किस मुल्क में कहाँ पर कौन सा shift बता रहे हो?
Specifically in America. Left and right-wing political parties that are present there.
ऊंचा पुत्र. Once again.
Political parties that are present there affiliate themselves either to right or the left wing.
But Democratic और Republican parties तो 200 साल पुरानी है अमेरिका में. What has shifted?
I think the ideas
कोई और, somebody else wants to help him. Somebody wants to help him? What has shifted in American politics? Oh यार, सबको पता है. Hard lining हो गई है, right? पहले right and left could at least talk to each other. Now it's become like a religious belief कि अगर if you're for me, then you're against, something else, right? Polarization बहुत हो गई है. जी, आप बताएं.
Ma'am, the shift from tangible financial markets to, for example, cryptocurrency, where there is no financial backing or there isn't a reserve which generates that value. It's just intangible and it's all like in digital wallets, and it's a way to it's creating wealth without any like tangible backing. So
But Putter, सारा currency is a myth, right?
sorry?
सारी currency is a myth. सिर्फ cryptocurrency intangible नहीं है.
But-
Rupiah is a piece of paper.
But it has some finance backing to it. Like for example, we have a reserve, and the value of it is based on our reserve.
So it's more organized. It's more organized. Ade marks. Somebody else.
I don't know if this counts. Like, बहुत पहले, like not बहुत पहले, there was at least in this part of the world a lot of like family systems, housing, like a lot of families, joint family systems lived with each other. But as time moved on, housing got more expensive. The paradigm shifted a little bit, and everyone started to have individual housing, nuclear families as such. And actually, more so recently, even more paradigm shifts are happening in which you don't really need to have the nuclear family format either. Co-parenting is becoming more and more common, and single parenting is becoming more and more common.
That's really good. Zabardast. जी आप.
It's related to design.
यार मैं बहरी हूँ. मुझे आपकी आवाज़ नहीं आती. ऊंचा बोलो. Otherwise I'm going to make you repeat stuff.
It's related to design. First, the requirements used to be whatever the functional requirements are, but now there's a paradigm shift towards how the user is actually going to use the product, rather than just fixating on what the engineers want and what the business models want. So the shift was, okay, now it's more focused towards user first. Development process starts from the user, and now you make product based on what they need and how.
So that is a paradigm. I want to say कि उसमें कोई shift नहीं हुआ. हमेशा से successful और unsuccessful products में ये difference रहा है कि unsuccessful products के engineers बनाते हैं requirements और successful के users बनाते हैं. So that's 4. That's fine. Thank you guys. So now you guys have kind of an idea. You've taught each other what paradigms are, right? So therefore this is easy for you to understand. What does this diagram represent? A paradigm shift, right? So things are going in that direction, right? So for example, early 20th century में जाओ, so कितने businesses थे? घोड़ों के, buggies के, whips के, जो उनको सारे लोग चलाते थे वो सब के, फिर automobile बन गई, right? वो सारे लोग जो आगे जा रहे थे, वो सारे went out of business, right? Abhi in the US, I think the thing that is holding back self-driven trucks is essentially the fact that 1.5 million truck drivers will go out of work. The technology is ready. We just don't know what will happen to those people. So that's actually the politics and the social restraints are holding it back rather than technology. But so think about like the paradigm shifts that will happen. So these are just autonomous trucks. But think about what will happen when autonomous cars come. So suddenly soccer moms are going to be out of like soccering, right? Because the car can just take the kids to the soccer field themselves. In Lahore, like when your mums take you to school and bring them back, you don't. Sometimes the driver himself or herself is the hazard. So you can just put your kids in a car and the car will take them safely there and bring them back. Similarly, people who stop driving and then become confined to their homes, people in their 70s and 80s and 90s who have medical issues will no longer have that problem. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So in your opinion, do you believe the paradigm, how do you define if a paradigm shift is a good thing or a bad thing?
But all paradigms, in my humble opinion, have good things and bad things. So आप बगी वाले से पूछो, तो उसने तो उसकी तो वाट लग गई, right? तो but बाकी सारे लोग, did well. So there are always winners and losers in a paradigm shift, right? Okay. All right. So this, I'm just going to go. You guys have given really great examples, but we'll just go over. So Ptolemy, who lived in Alexandria. Where is Alexandria? Right. So from 100 to 170 AD, basically thought कि Earth is at the center of the universe and बाकी सारे कुछ उसके इर्द गिर्द घूमता है. और देखो जालिम ने क्या किया कि उसने सन को बिल्कुल जो है कहाँ जाके डाला हुआ है, जिसकी कि मतलब now when we look at this diagram now we're like oh my god, but जो उसकी equations हैं अगर देखो तो they actually make sense. Then Copernicus, Poland, 1473 to 1543. So look at how many years later then came in and said that, you know, actually heliocentric, there's a heliocentric universe, the sun is at the center of the universe. He suspected that the stars that we see are similar to the sun, but that they're just further out. And, you know, Copernicus ke saath, you know, kuch acha nahi hua itna. Next slide, please. Who here can tell me what Aristarchus of Samos was? So look at the dates. He lived from 310 BC to 230 BC. Samos hai kahan par? Greece. Okay, good. Do you know? Would you? So Aristarchus ka model jo hai was very similar to Copernicus. Uski equations actually worked better. So this is a really important principle in science, in technology, that if your ideas do not catch on, then, you know, Ptolemy and Aristotle at that time were much. He was a compatriot of Ptolemy and Aristotle was a giant, right? And that's what he believed. So हालांकि वो बेचारा सही कह रहा था, you know, उसकी किसी ने नहीं सुनी, कोई 1500 सालों के लिए, 1800 सालों के लिए, right? And अगर आपको ये ख्याल है कि this paradigm is no longer valid, that now with our transmission and everything, this doesn't happen anymore. For extra credit, whoever finds out, I'll give you the time frame, in late 60s, what happened to ischemic heart disease, heart attacks, is the leading cause of death in humanity. So similar paradigm happened in the late 60s with ischemic heart disease. Anybody who finds that out, will give them extra credit for CP. Yes, ma'am.
Are we defining ischemic heart disease to be a heart attack? Isn't that the prereq to like a heart attack?
No, ischemic heart disease is all blockages inside the...
Is it blockage or narrowing?
Narrowing or blockage, narrowing se, you know, you don't get a heart attack. So narrowing hoti hai, and then फिर narrowing से जब blockage hoti hai, तो फिर आपको heart attack हो जाता है. So they all come under ischemic heart disease. Okay, so can somebody tell me what this is? Oh, yaar. Can somebody tell me what this is?
I don't know what the Milky Way looks like.
Can you tell us
It's from NASA Web. It says right there. Sadly, I couldn't remove that. So it's from NASA Web. Where is NASA Web? Where is NASA Web physically located?
At a certain point far away from Earth where it experiences no gravity from anything.
Yeah. So please, अगर आपको ये नहीं पता ना कि web जो है वो Earth पे नहीं है, it's in space. तो then, you know, आपका अल्लाह हाफिज़ है और आपको इस कोर्स की बहुत seriously ज़रूरत है. लेकिन, okay. So what is this? Can somebody tell me what this is? जी पुत्र. नाम फिर से बताओ यार. Shirjeel. Sorry. Forgive me. बोलो. Pillars of creation, absolutely. These are the pillars of creation. These are 60, you can go ahead. They are 6,500 light years away. So this is obviously a past event. This is dust, and जो bright वाले stars हैं जिनके 8 points हैं, those are all stars. So जो छोटे dot में orange yellow वाले हैं, those are all new stars which are being created. So हम Copernicus से कितना आगे निकल आए हैं, right? Like there is the Big Bang now and the expanding universe, and you know we are actually being able to look back at how creation happened, right? We can literally travel back in time. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the world population starting from 10,000 BC to 21 AD. Who here can tell me what a hockey stick in graphical language is? A hockey stick in graphs, what is that?
Spike or boom.
Right? So where is the hockey stick happening here? Yeah, 1850, between 1850 and 1900, right? So, no, don't go आगे. So what happened in 1850? Can somebody tell me? जी आप बताएं आपका नाम क्या है?
1850, the Industrial Revolution basically started, and what we're observing here is the ending of what economists call emancipation gap. Because of the Industrial Revolution, there was a lot of exponential growth, and that allowed for...
So उसका human life पे industrial revolution का human health पे अच्छा असर हुआ कि बुरा असर हुआ? Truly? Rivers pollute हो गए, air pollute हो गई, खाने की आपके supply line खराब हो गए, economy बेहतर हो गई थी. Human health का I'm not sure. The verdict is out on that. I'm not sure कि human health पे industrial revolution का कोई बहुत अच्छा असर पड़ा है. जी पुत्र.
Yeah, my name's Anusha. So I think like what Azmir was saying, just building on that, like previous to the Industrial Revolution, life expectancy was very low. So then after the Industrial Revolution, life expectancy.
So आप correlation को causality के साथ confuse कर रहे हो.
The quality of human life necessarily improved as much as maybe the fact that now there were more resources for people to consume. So that's it.
आप बताओ.
I mean, well, it's a spike in people staying alive. So clearly something happened in the medical field.
Is it
Some
insulin?
improvement was made. Why is my brain going to penicillin? I don't-
No, insulin, पहली बात तो ये कि insulin का इतना impact नहीं है. दूसरा, insulin happened World War II के वक्त 1940s में. Penicillin की बात नहीं हो रही. So it's not penicillin. Anybody else? So you're at least in the ballpark. Anybody else? जी पुत्र.
Does it have to do with sewage technology? Sewage technology?
You're coming warmer. Go ahead and put it up. So basically, who here knows the germ theory of disease? You've already spoken. जी, आप बताओ. पुत्र ऊंचा.
Yeah, इससे पहले it was believed essentially germs travel through either smells or tastes or something. And after the germ theory of disease, it was discovered that essentially aerial bacteria वगैरह से travel.
Okay. Somebody else? आप बताओ. पुत्र ऊंचा.
My name is Ira, and I think when the smart doctor said that you should start washing your hands, people didn't take it seriously. But then it was proven that his surgeries were statistically worse.
Yeah. So आपको उसका नाम याद है? Okay. So Louis Pasteur was a French scientist who basically discovered that germs जो है वो automatically rotting चीज़ों में नहीं बनते, but वो actually separate entities हैं जो कि transmit होते हैं. So hand washing, boiling milk, so बहुत सारा tuberculosis at that time was transmitted via raw milk, right? And so basically just pasteurization, the word pasteurization, how many of us drink pasteurized milk here? So that is where that comes from, okay? So एरिस्टोटल का ये ख्याल था कि आप जब मीट को रॉट होने के लिए देते हो या खाने को रॉट होने देते हो तो उसमें मैगेट्स जो हैं वो स्पॉन्टेनियसली क्रिएट हो जाते हैं एंड देन पास्टर ऑब्वियसली डिड दिस एक्सपेरिमेंट इन विच उसने बंद कर दिया एंड द मैगेट्स वर एक्चुअली outside, so which proved के so experimentation can be as simple as this. और आप ये देखो कि इस एक simple insight से आप impact देखो उसका, right? Next slide please. Okay, go back. I think वो नहीं मिला उसमें. So, what do vaccines, toilets, fertilization, and blood transfusions have in common? Oh, it's coming. Okay. What do those four things have in common? How are fertilizers microbiological?
At some point, people didn't think they were right.
No. They did something. They had some sort of impact. Putra, you in the white sweater. Do you want to take a shot? Yeah. Aapka naam kya hai bolo? Aisha? Yeah. Okay. So they're all responsible. Each of them is individually responsible for saving 1 billion lives. If you Google what has had the most impact in saving lives, you'll get a long list. And these are the top 4. And as you can see, apart from the fertilizer, the other 3 are all related to germ theory of disease. Okay? Next slide, please. Okay. So any questions so far? Because we're going to move on to migraine, which is our third example of a paradigm shift. G. Put the fertilizer जहाँ से आप 1 एकड़ में से सिर्फ 1 टन wheat उगा सकते थे, अब उसमें से आप 3 टन उगा सकते हो.
No, I thought you were talking about saving lives.
Right. So starvation kills people. नहीं? Last time I checked, starvation killed people, right?
No, but also, may I add on to that? Like, it actually literally did save lives because they were running out of some natural fertilizers around the time of World War II when Ebers invented, a process for ammonia.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the natural fertilizer جو ہے اس کو بنایا نہیں جا سکتا. The cow has to poop or somebody has to like do something, right? To یا آپ کو پتے زمین میں ڈالنے پڑتے ہیں. Artificial fertilizer آپ بنا سکتے ہیں, right? Okay. All right. So who here has migraines? Okay. So if you count, keep your hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there's about 60 people here. A fourth of us have migraines. So جس کو migraine ہوتی ہیں ڈاکٹر اوان کے علاوہ وہ بتائے کہ migraines کیا ہوتی ہیں. یار somebody who's not talked as yet. Put her up, the purple hair. نام اور اونچا.
Basically a persistent headache that appears on one side and it's kind of debilitating. It has a lot of symptoms that are associated. So stuff like, you can't really move, you feel nauseous.
Okay. Okay. So is it the same as a tension headache? No. So how is it different from a tension headache?
I'm not really familiar with tension headaches. I haven't really spoken myself. But from what I know, migraines are psychiatry and some of the symptoms are associated with them aren't the same thing.
Okay, بالکل نہیں اس میں بتا دیا. That's okay. So she is absolutely right کہ tension headache اتنی severe نہیں ہوتی, دونوں سائڈوں پہ ہوتی ہے. It comes from the neck. All tension so 90% of all headaches are either tension headaches or migraines, right? And then most headaches are tension headaches. They come from the base of the neck where your muscles get tight, and then they tend to be bitemporal. They feel like a band, whereas as Iman said, migraine headaches are one side. They're very bad. They basically put you out for 24 to 48 hours. So this, and they're more common in women. They have a prodrome aura. So some people, when they have a migraine, they see this thing travel across their eye. There's a postdrome. Even after the headache is gone, you don't feel like doing anything for another 24 hours. There's family history. Migraine is a hereditary disease. So most people will have a family member who also has migraine. Tension headaches comes, like I said, from muscles. Migraine comes from neurological origin. There's no vascular component in tension headache. Migraines, of course, have that throbbing quality that comes from vasodilatation. What is vasodilatation? Putra, batao. Aapka naam kya hai? Rumesa. Tukka? Bilkul, absolutely. So arteries, as you know, or most of you, if you don't know, I'm telling you, arterial walls are rubbery or elastic is the right word, and they can expand and constrict. So vasodilatation is their dilatation, so their ability to absorb volume increases. Next slide. So basically, when Dr. Nasser and I were in school, migraine was thought to be a vascular illness. Blood vessels dilate and more blood comes in, and from that inflammation happens, and therefore blood vessel constrictors, like for example coffee. The reason coffee was good in migraine is because caffeine is a vasoconstrictor. And all the medications that were given at that time, ergotamine and so on and so forth, they were all vasoconstrictor. In 2023, we know that migraine is a neurological disease. There's hereditary tendency, environmental and internal stressors, and the medications have divided themselves into two. So we know that if you allow a migraine to happen, then it has to run its course. But most migraineurs can actually tell when a migraine is coming. And if they take this group of medications called abortives, so basically you are sort of aborting the migraine before it happens, then there is a period where they can just prevent the migraine from coming on. And then if you do have a migraine, then you have preventatives which prevent individual episodes, and then you have regular painkillers like ibuprofen and others which don't work very well in migraine, but you can take them later. Okay. So, and then there is also association with other diseases of the neuron like epilepsy, depression, and so on. So, what I'm hoping that you are learning is that a paradigm has profound effects on problem solving, right? If you don't understand the paradigm right, agar hum migraine ke upar wahi baithe rehte, so you would just keep on harping on the blood vessel part of the migraine, which is very much there, but is not the root cause, is only a side component. And we wouldn't have had these 3 other classes of medications that we have for migraine. We wouldn't have this understanding. And we just noticed here, a fourth of people around the planet, 21 to 25% of the people have migraines, and they affect people in the prime of their lives. And every time you have a migraine, you're out for a day or two. And the average number of migraines that each migrainer has every month is 4.2. So that's 2 days gone from each week. So let's think about like the economic loss and the suffering that goes with that. So with that paradigm, you could only solve the problem to that extent. But let me ask you about fit versus reality. What do I mean by that?
I think it is that sometimes your research fits a hypothesis that you had, but that you're ignoring the reality of that, which that, like, for example, you said that that was not the root cause of it. That was what maybe what the data was showing you, and it fits a certain hypothesis you had to begin with research. But that's not the reality of like what's causing the migraine.
Okay, that's pretty good. Somebody wants to expand on that? Yes.
Maybe, for example, if there are certain like similar diseases that are like segmented into one segment, and you have migraine which has similar symptoms and stuff, and you find out that, so you basically segment it into the same category, so that would be like fitting it into it, but you find out that it's not into that segment.
Okay. So it's all of a little bit, but I am looking at it from a problem-solving point of view. So next slide. So look at Newton versus Einstein, right? So Newton had a theory of how force works, and Newton had a way of looking at gravity. And for all our lived experiences, his theories, the equations that he wrote, they worked. They could explain past events and they could predict the future. Right? And then Einstein came and he said, no, that only applies to one frame of reference. When a train is moving and a glass is on a table and the train stops, you haven't applied any force on the glass, but the glass still falls. How do you explain that, right? So Newtonian, science doesn't have an answer for that, right? And then, hold on. And then similarly with gravity. Newton actually invented calculus, so he could explain the speed of the apple at every point as it was falling down. But then, according to Einstein's theory, space-time bends, and that is what gravity is, right? So at their level, so if your paradigm is good enough, if it fits the reality well enough to give you workable answers, your paradigm will work for a very long time. But then to go beyond that, so like if you want a quantum computer, or if you want to do time travel, or you want to go look for wormholes, right, in the universe, then Newton doesn't work for you anymore, right? So, but, if you want to basically figure out ke, autonomous cars kis speed pe chalengi, uske liye Newtonian stuff is pretty good. So, next slide. So, ye humne baat kar liya hai. But we'll wait until the end because we're running out of time. Okay? So the goals of this course are to understand the properties, triumphs, and limitations of the best intelligence model humanity has access to. Those of you who want to work in AI, you nice guys need to understand the brain as a benchmark, because, right, like the computer is an exact copy of the human brain. You have the storage, which is the unconscious. You have RAM, which is your subconscious, and you have the working computer space, which is like your conscious, right? So even though किसी ने बैठ के सोचा नहीं कि मैं इसको ऐसे organize करूं, that is just how computer is organized, right? And then for those of you who are who are biology majors, all function targeting, whether you're doing things like drugs, electrical tools like gamma knife, or ECT or DBS, all of these things require like a deep understanding of how the brain functions, right? This is the century of the brain. Unless you understand the brain, you're not going to be able to keep up with how, things are going to unfold over the course of your lifetimes. And then all of us are knowledge workers, right? You have to have a certain amount of like meta knowledge of yourself. Like how does my brain process reward and punishment? How does my brain construct reality? Only when you understand those things can you actually bring more profoundness to your work. Next slide, please. So Dr. Nasser and I have worked really hard on this course. I'm not like bragging about that. We have probably learned the most, so we are the main beneficiaries. But there's a reason why we have invested so much time into this, is that when we were medical students, really neurology was, you sort of read neuroanatomy and you read neurohistology, but we really did not understand how the brain works. So this course sort of crystallizes what Dr. Nasser and I have learned throughout our lifetimes, and which is why developing this course was so hard, because this doesn't come from a single book or a single experience. This is sort of like what we feel that, like I feel, Dr. Nasser can speak for himself, is that when I was 18, if somebody had told me this, it would have been awesome. I mean, half of that was not possible because this stuff was discovered after I was 18. But the insights here are, things that we think are really important in neuroscience. So what do you need to bring with yourself to the course with you? So basic knowledge of neuroanatomy and neurophysiology, which you can get from the Genong chapters we've distributed. You guys need to flip through those 130 pages. They are in big print. There are lots of diagrams. But you need to, and we don't expect you to like know them by heart, but flip through them so you know where is what. If you get lost in this course, because this course, Zainab is focused on making you guys fail. Dr. Nasser and I are not, right? So we are not trying to make this hard, but because as you will see, we are trying to cover a lot, and because we are both physicians, we throw around terms as if all of you will know them. So you can stop us and ask us if a term doesn't make sense to you. But you know what? If we just do a course on like the terms which are used in neuroscience, that can be a course in itself. So unless you go through those 130 pages, you need to skip, like, don't need to know them in heart, so that if you have like a question about muscle, or if you have a question about attention or memory, you can go back and read that. You at least know where that is, okay? Show up. I mean, if you're not here, you're done, right? Do the readings. This is a reading heavy course. We have tried to keep the readings only to what we think will benefit you. So like I said, the Genong pages you can just skim. The rest of the readings, if we've made a reading, go through it. Revisit the relevant Genong pages as you come across them. Curiosity is probably the biggest thing that you need to bring to class, because you are going to be lost, right? And if you don't have curiosity to rescue you, you will be drowning, and so, but if you have an anchor which is like, I really want to know how this works, then that will keep you afloat.